Excerpt from Wake Up America by Campolo. Even till the end of this age. As a kid growing up in America, the only reason I could figure out for wanting to be converted was so that I could go to heaven when I died. Since I wasn't planning on dying in the near future, the conversion thing had very little attraction for me. I maintained this indifference to conversion through most of my teenage years, and I did so in spite of the evangelists who visited my church and warned the likes of me that we were in mortal danger. You think nothing is going to happen to you because you're young, the evangelist would shout. Well, you could walk out of this church tonight, be walking across the street and get hit by a truck. Then where would you be? In heaven or in hell? That sort of threat never really got to me, although I must admit that it did make me more cautious about crossing streets. But as I grew older, I discovered that something was missing from my life. I am sure you have heard that line before. It is usually the line that those who give their testimonies at religious gatherings can be counted on to give. The line has become a cliche. But like most cliches, it became one because it is true. Most people reach a time when they become susceptible to what I call the Peggy Lee syndrome and say to themselves, is this all there is? Like myself, they begin to look for some ultimate meaning in their lives. So it was that I began to ask why I was here. Why was I me and not someone else? Was I just an accident, or did my life have some kind of purpose and plan? Questions like those began to haunt me. My Calvinistic calling. In my teen years, I came under some solid Calvinistic teachings. The doctrines of John Calvin left me convinced that God had a plan for my life, and that being a Christian was not just believing in Jesus and what he had done for me on the cross, but also involved committing myself to living out his plan for my life. I did not have any specifics, but I knew that his plan involves my participation with him in trying to change the world into the kind of world that he wants it to be. Whether it was preaching to win people to Christ so that they could be people of his kingdom, teaching in the classroom to prepare young people to be agents of change, or engaging in direct action against the war in Vietnam, or to save the environment, I always saw my calling as living out the Lord's Prayer. I always wanted to see the kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. I want to invite others to share in that commitment. It is my hope that Christian conversion will move beyond a salvation experience that results only in a personal piety that gets people ready for heaven. Conversion must involve people in the affairs of this world. If there is to be a rebirth of America, it will come only as we become engaged in those activities that affect society with the values of the Sermon on the Mount. That is why I have so strongly pled for Christians across America to become committed to living out their faith in middle range programs and projects designed to implement something of the agenda of the kingdom of God. In the praxis of trying to change the world, I found the meaning and the psychic energy that comes from reflection and action. It was in doing Christianity in those places where I lived and worked that the significance of my life became clear. I am committed to global concerns such as world hunger. As a matter of fact, I am very involved in raising money for hungry children in third world countries, but it is setting up feeding programs for the homeless in my own community that has the greatest effect on me. I believe that something must be done to curtail the demolition of the rainforest in the Amazon, lest our ecological balance be permanently disturbed. I signed petitions and write to politicians to voice my concerns, but it is activities like organizing people in my own backyard to stop the use of styrofoam cups in fast food restaurants that gets my blood running hot and stirs me to meaningful excitement.